APT Songs here, and greetings from Kenya. That's right, I am right now on a 10 to 11 day excursion here in Kenya, going on safaris and checking out the atmosphere here. And I've only been here for a couple of days now, but one of the things that I'm realizing is really standing out to me is the following, that it feels really interesting being in a place where, as a Black person going to Africa, going to Kenya, it's interesting to have the feeling of being in the majority. Like I'd say about 95% of the people in this part of Africa are of African descent. And then the 5% that are other races are typically coming here visiting from other places. But like just walking around, like when we land in the airport, like everybody that works at the airport is African. The people that are our tour guides are African. When we go into stores or going to museums or going to safari locations, it's all African. The security guards are African. Like, I can't stress enough, like just how interesting it is being in a place where you're the majority. Like I haven't experienced this since I went to Hampton University, where on campus it's like 85% African descent, And so it really has me thinking a few things. For one, the narrative in the States that we have about the way that Black people are and what we like and don't like, there's really none of that out here. Like I've always said that even amongst Black people in the States, we have our own diversity and our based on where we're coming from and our backgrounds, we have our own ways of viewing the world that could be very diverse. But we get all lumped into this thing of just being Black in the States, and then that's it. Whereas out here, you can, even with amongst the Kenyan people, you can see the diversity, the different languages that they speak, the things that they're into, the calmness and all that stuff. The other thing is, being out here, I notice I don't have some of the anxieties that I have at times in the States. Like, not that I'm an overly anxious person. I don't really tend to worry all that much, but there's not such a thing out here, for example, as code switching. Like the way that I talk amongst other Africans, I don't have to worry about, okay, there's now like a white person or an Asian person in the room, and now I got to speak a certain way or stop talking about certain things because it might make them uncomfortable. Like there's no feeling at all of like uncomfortableness. I also think this must be how white people in general just move about in the world. Like I know in the States, because they are the majority, it's like they can do things like walk around and not have to think about how them being white necessarily is going to affect their day. Like as a Black person, for white people that are watching this, just know when Black people are out walking around during the course of their day, they are very much thinking about, if I come across a white person, are they gonna think that I'm trying to rob them or attack them? Do I have to present myself a certain way so they see me as an acceptable Black person that they won't be afraid of? And that is just something out here I have not had to do. Like everybody looks like me, with the exception that everybody out here is, for the most part, is dark skinned to medium skinned. Like obviously because in the States, there's a lot of the type of breeding going on that would facilitate us becoming a lighter skin. So it's definitely noticeable that they're darker out here. But even that, out here, I have yet to feel any like dark versus light Black person type of thing that you feel amongst ourselves in the States, But yeah, like white people could just walk around in the States and not think about this stuff. And they don't think about like, something as simple as like, they're around their own kind, and so they're not worrying about like how it's going to feel if they bring a Black person in. And out here, it's the exact opposite. Like it almost feels like it's going to be sad to say, it feels almost like being in bizarro land, where it's like, I come from a place where when I go around the town, most of what I'm seeing is white. I'm seeing white billboards. I'm seeing people walk around that, are white. In most places that I go to, the servers are white, the restaurants, the people that are there working are white. Like it's mostly white people, because that's just kind of, they taken over the US. That's just how it is. And so out here, it is literally the complete opposite. Everywhere I go as Black people, or I'll say rather African people, most of the posters that I see have African people in it and Kenyan people and stuff in it. And so it's like bizarro land in a sense, and I wish it wasn't. I wish it didn't feel like that, but it's like where I come from, that's not the norm, But everybody out here is just so cordial and so friendly and kind and generous, and the people, especially in the hospitality industry, are just willing to, get you what you need and talk to you really kindly. And again, it's a contrast to the kind of reputation that African descent people get in the US, where we're combative and we're like, I'm with this and that. Also out here, it's a lot more family oriented. Like Black people in the States are pretty family oriented, but I mean, like, the divorce rate here is like 1 to 2%. The separation rate is 7 to 8%. So people stay out here together a lot longer, and the families out here are a bit more successful. I was also told that this is very much a polyamorous society, and I had judgments about that. I had judgments about a man, it should be one man and one woman, and like, how could they do whatever? But like, hearing our tour guide talk about the structure of how polygamy works, where like, the guy is expected to be able to support all of his wives that he has, and then the wives work in a community fashion to be able to take care of the kids and take care of the household, and some of them get jobs outside the house to help. But it's like, it's not this power structure of like, well, men just need to have a bunch of women. It's like, no, for the benefit of all involved, like the stress of a relationship doesn't just fall on one woman to handle that. It falls mostly on the guy to make sure he can take care of everybody. But then the women within that community like are able to take care of their own and their other people's kids and stuff like that. And then it's very village based out here. So, if there are problems in families, other family members can come in to like give guidance and counsel. And so it's just an interesting, different way of living out here. But overall, so far, like I said, I've only been out here a couple of days. So I'm gonna have more experiences as this goes on, but just the feeling I get of like things that feel familiar and things where I feel like it's nice to be part of the majority, and it's nice to think that like, they're just so opening and so warm. It really is quite an interesting feeling so far. And I'm really enjoying just that aspect of it. Like we'll go on the tour rides where we're just driving to places. I'll just look out the window. Like I'm not even on my phone. I'm looking out the window, looking at the people walking around and seeing like the smiles on their faces and seeing, not everybody has a smile on their face. Some people are like, there's still homelessness out here. There's still like the poor parts of town, stuff where people live and, they have to kind of survive. But it just feels different. It just feels different than I thought it would be. And, it's nice. It's a nice feeling to feel like you're part of the majority. And this is why I now get why white people fight so hard about that in the States, because it's like at one point, they went over there and took everything over, and then they were the majority, and then people come over there of different races and stuff and they're like, how dare blah, blah, blah. And part of that's because people like being around their own kind. And I think Black people don't get that experience, so they just think that, well, no, I need to cultivate diversity. I need to have a diverse group of friends and, white people, Asian people, blah, blah. And I still think people should do that. Like, Kenyans out here also have friends of different races, just that they're not the majority. So most of their friends by default end up being other Kenyans, And so, but I understand that feeling, because it does feel really good to be around your own kind and be able to relate to a majority of people versus people coming into the sphere where it kind of feels awkward. I'm not saying that should result in racism or killing people. I'm just saying I understand that feeling now, So that's all I really got for right now. Like I'm excited to see what other things are going to happen on this trip. We have some more things coming up into the pipeline that are going to be really, really fun. And I'm finally starting my Philby Trippin' blog, and that's going to be coming up soon, because I'm just taking voice notes and pictures of things that I can post up on this blog to share with you guys. So that's coming up really, really soon. But yeah, it's going great so far, and I will keep you all updated as the trip progresses. So that's all I got. I'm APT Songs, and I will catch you later. Peace.